Heavy Rain is a game I heard about for years, except I never got around to playing it, mainly because I did not have a PS3 at the time. What did make me a bit envious of the PS3 owners out there at the time, and I completely forgot about it until I saw it in a car boot sale. And it brought back the memories of the game, so at long last I got to play it. Shit, that was a lot of eyes in that sentence. Best way to describe Heavy Rain, it's more like an interactive movie game than anything, with a lot of quick time events, with anticipation as you go through the story, with adrenaline pumping moments as the story unravels. Heavy Rain relies on heavy story elements what will make you sit on the edge of your seat once when it gets going from its very slow start. I'm not kidding, it takes a couple of hours to get going. Heavy Rain's writing revolves around a serial killer who leaves origami figures on his victims, and to make it worse, they're kid victims around about 10 years old, who drowns his victims in rainwater, and you play a character called Ethan who's trying to save his son before time runs out, going through these trials and getting clues what the origami killer left for him to save his son. There are decisions what makes different outcomes and a gobsmacking ending when you find out who the killer is. And at certain times the game does play on your emotions. You get to play 4 main characters: Ethan Marsh, the father of the kidnapped kid, who I was surprised that it made me feel his pain throughout the campaign. It actually got me emotional at certain points. The 50s themed private detective Shelby, who doesn't own a computer, who drives a classic car what looks like it's from the 1950s, what did confuse me about the timeline for about a minute. An FBI agent whose name I can't remember, who has this detective system gameplay called Aria Sunglasses to help him see out other clues what normal eyes can't, with some serious side effects what makes his gameplay slightly different from the other characters where you're looking for clues. And Madison Page, the reporter who seems like a detective, they should have gave her a badge in this. I think the main characters are interesting with each story interacts with the other characters in one shape or form as they all trying to find out who the origami killer is, or something related to that. All the controls moving around can be way too slow. In certain parts it makes no sense, however, not all the time. The tank controls has to be the most annoyingest thing about this game. You have to hold down L2 and move the left analog stick at the same time. Who does that? So many other games have got this right, but not here, and they will take time to get used to. And another thing what annoyed me was the camera angles. If you play games like the early Resident Evil games, yeah, they handle like that. Also, this game loves its shower scene and its butts. The controls can be frustrating where it changes camera angles. It can happen at the most dire of times and turn you in the opposite direction that I wanted to go. That made me swear on more than one occasion. If you can get past the dodgy controls, it does reward you with an interesting story, what does unravel, what will draw you in after a certain point of the game. I like the fact that certain things in the world you can interact with this icon. The only thing is, it can be hard to see these icons sometimes. There is a part what sticks out, what frustrated me is the electric maze. You got to go through it at a certain bit. It hides the fucking damn interactive button. So you think that it's a dead end and it switches the button to the triangle from square. I spent hours on this bit trying to figure it out, and in the end I had to look it up on bloody YouTube. Cutscenes are more of an interactive cutscenes. If you play games like Fahrenheit, you know what you're going to be in for. The quick time events surprise me. Usually I hate these things, although somehow it got me immersed into it, and it got my heart going more than once. So it works very well with the game, so you're paying attention to what's happening in the background of the quick time events, and for that I'm amazed by it. Usually I concentrate on one or the other. With games like this, not both. That's probably why I like these interactive cutscenes. However, there is a downside to this. I don't like the motion control sections what it gets you to use from time to time. For me, they didn't always respond. But saying that, this could be down to the PS3 that I was using, except I heard others had the similar complaint on the motion control sections. And if someone comes in and looks at you at a certain wrong angle, it can look completely different to what you were doing. What? It's motion controls, it's not what you're thinking. Another thing that can be a bit frustrating at times is reading the dialogue choices, where they constantly move around a circle. I don't like this spinning thing, you can easily misread the button. Say for the choices, they are good. It's just half the time they move around too fast, so reading all the decisions, what's laid out, you might accidentally choose something that you did not want. Oh, there are some awkward parts of the game, naming the sex scenes. It requires you to do some actions at this point. I was pissing myself laughing. And I did the same with Fahrenheit. Especially if you've got the girlfriend scene, the one that he splits up with, and it makes you use the controls. It's not awkward as that, but it's still awkward, and I've got to say, who the fuck keeps ice cream in the fridge? For all the characters that you meet, I think that they are well done. They can be a bit bland at times, but nothing really jumps out in mind. The level design is section set pieces, so there's nowhere what really repeats. What I appreciate, especially when the areas go for this gritty tone, some of it looks impressive for the time that this came out. Graphics are impressive when this was released, especially the facial animation, except if you compare them to modern animations, they do look dated at times. For the gameplay animations, they're not as good, especially when you move the characters around. They seem way too stiff and robotic at times. The music sets the tone just right, it does not foul, especially on the moral parts of Heavy Rain's story, what sets up the atmosphere exactly.
I miss him so much.
For the most part, the voice acting is believable. It's too bad from time to time some questionable dialogue does come up, what makes some of the voice acting stand out. For how long the game is, I clocked on around about 8 hours, so I was a bit disappointed. Nevertheless, saying that, I think the developers intended you to go back and play it again on a new save to see the different outcomes of the story. For me, once when I knew the mystery of the killer, I can't see myself returning to it. The mystery for me is gone, and I think that was the core to keep me playing. So in the end, I'm going to give Heavy Rain a 7 out of 10. And the main thing that let this game down is the dodgy controls. If you can overlook that major flaw, you will be surprised with the brilliant story behind it and its multiple endings. So have you played Heavy Rain? What did you think of it? Leave it in the comments below. Until next game, I'm fucking off. Did anyone else count how much he waved his arms throughout the whole review?
Oh.